pot, Chinese pot. That's the way to learn Chinese. Chinese pot, Chinese pot.
Hello and welcome once again to Chinese Pod. We're coming to you from Shanghai, China. We bring you lessons in spoken Mandarin. Now, my name is Ken Carroll.
And I'm Jenny.
Hello, Jenny.
Hi.
Tell us something about today's lesson, Jenny, please.
It's the all-important topic of finding a hostel.
Finding a hostel. That's interesting. And which level are we talking here today, Jenny?
Newbie.
So again, we have a focus recently on very, very simple lessons for absolute beginners, just to give you some very basic stuff. And this newbie lesson certainly fits into that category. So if you're a newbie, stay with us. If you're at a more advanced level, go to ChinesePod.com and you'll find lots of other stuff for you to delve into. Now, you mentioned the word hostel, right? How do we say this word in Chinese, please?
Well, there are actually a number of ways to say hostel, but today we are using the most common one.
Which is?
旅馆. 旅馆.
旅馆. Now, that sounds like third tone and third tone.
Yeah,
is that correct?
It almost feels a bit forced when you pronounce it, which is the trait of a third tone.
Okay, 旅馆. And I think we'll look at those characters in a little bit more detail in just a moment. Now, for now, however, you've got your keyword, you've got some context here. Let's see into the dialogue. We'll listen to that 3 times. After that, we'll come and we'll break it down for you. So with that, the dialogue, please.
We often have people tell us things like,
I gave learning Mandarin a shot, but then I realized I really don't have enough time to commit to it.
folks who felt this way love Chinese Pod Recap. In as little as 90 seconds a day, you can refresh what you've learned so far while adding a bit of what's new to your daily learning. An innovative language learning tool to fit the busy, fast-paced lifestyle of today's professionals.
我想找便宜的旅馆。
多少钱？
100元一天。
好的。
Second time. 我想找便宜的旅馆。
多少钱？
100元一天。
好的。
Third time. 我想找便宜的旅馆。
多少钱？
100元一天。
好的。
Okay, practical stuff indeed.
Yes.
I hope.
And very, very simple.
Very simple.
It's the best.
But practical, yeah. Now, if you would be so kind to go through the sentence, I would be so kind as to translate them.
We're always so kind.
Indeed.
我想找便宜的旅馆。
I'd like to find a cheap hostel.
我想找便宜的旅馆。
I'd like to find a cheap hostel.
我想找便宜的旅馆。多少钱？
For how much?
多少钱？
How much?
多少钱？100元一天。
100 yuan per day.
100元一天。
100 yuan as in renminbi per day.
100元一天。好的。
Okay.
好的。
All right.
好的。
Now, so you've had the idiomatic translations. Now, there's lots of interesting stuff in here. We need to dig down into this. Now, our keyword, of course, for today was
旅馆。
旅馆. So let's hear the first sentence and it's got 旅馆 in it, and let's piece it together.
我想找便宜的 旅馆.
Okay, so the object here of the verb is 旅馆. So we're talking about a 旅馆, a hostel. Now, 我想 meaning...
I want to, I'd like to.
Yeah, I think the best translation is I'd like to. It's quite polite, isn't it?
Yes.
For example, if we say 我要,
It's more imperative.
So 我想 is a nice way when you want something basically. Yeah. So 我想 meaning I'd like, and after that
找便宜的旅馆.
now 找
Third tone.
third tone. Tell us about that verb.
找 means to find, to
To
seek.
seek, indeed. It can mean to find also.
Yes.
Essentially, in this case, it means to seek. So, 我想找, I'm looking for. I hope to seek, if you translated it really literally. Now, which kind of a 旅馆?
便宜的. 便宜的.
Now, this is an interesting and a useful word. Tell us about this.
便宜 means cheap.
Cheap. Now, that's important.
Not stingy.
As in
that way.
inexpensive.
As in
Yeah.
inexpensive.
Could you tell us about the tones on that?
Okay. 便, second tone.
Yeah.
宜. It might sound somewhere between a second and a fourth, but it's actually a neutral tone.
Okay. So which one is a neutral tone?
宜.
Okay. So let's hear the sound again. We won't focus too much on those tones for now. Let's hear the sound again for the word cheap or inexpensive.
便宜. 便宜. 便宜.
Now, how do we say very cheap?
很便宜. 很便宜.
Great. So you've got the sound there, 便宜, meaning cheap. Now, let's put the whole thing together now. So we have the sentence, I'd like to find an inexpensive hostel.
我想找便宜的旅馆.
Now, we have the word 的, 便宜的. And this is just to attribute the adjective to the noun in this
yes.
case. And that's a construction we can look at another time. Now, the question was, well, how much do you want to spend? And how did we say that?
多少钱? 多少钱?
Now, the word for money is...
钱. 钱.
And the tone there is...
Second.
Second. So let's listen to that a couple more times. So money again, please.
钱. 钱.
Good. Now, how much?
多少钱? 多少钱?
Now, in this case, in context, of course, 多少钱 means how much. Usually in English, when we say how much, it usually refers to money. In Chinese, you've actually got to state that you're talking about money. Because 多少 can be used in many contexts. So let's listen to that word 多少 without the money reference.
多少? 多少?
And the tones there are...
First and third.
First and third. One more time, please.
多少?
So you want to learn traditional or simplified characters?
Can I just learn to speak Chinese? I really don't want to write or read. It's too much for me.
Are you one of the learners that told us early on that you just want to speak and listen to Chinese and you think Chinese characters are way too complicated? Then I really think you should check out our new introduction into how to read and write Chinese characters. It focuses on simple characters that you encounter in a Chinese language environment every day. In 11 entertaining episodes, we set out to convince you that Chinese characters are actually quite easy, and we hope that you will soon share our excitement. Visit 88 characters on www.chinesepod.com/88 and give it a try. Or search for the first episodes on the Chinese Pod channel on YouTube. It's as simplified as that.
Good. Now, can you give us an example in another context that you might ask that question? 多少?
For example, in this context, we're talking about finding a hostel.
Yes.
If you don't say 多少钱, you don't state the money part.
Yeah.
People might think,
How many
how many hostels? Yeah,
多少? How many?
Seeking.
Yeah. So again, as you can imagine, as with in English, it's got lots and lots of applications. 多少? Good. Now the answer was
100元一天100元一天
Now, let's take it from the back. The backline build-up, as teachers called us. 一天 meaning
one day.
one day. So 天 means day. It can also mean sky, in fact. 一天, one day. How do you say 2 days?
2天
And 3 days.
3天
So you've got your 天 there. Now, so let's look at the sentence again.
100元一天
Now, 100 meaning
100
100. And the word yuan means Chinese dollars, I suppose.
yes.
The Chinese equivalent of the dollar. So we're talking about $100, the implication being Chinese dollars, as in renminbi.
Yeah.
So let's hear that again. 100 yuan.
100元100元
Great. 200 yuan.
200元200元
300 yuan.
300元300元
Good. Now let's hear the whole sentence again, please. So 100 yuan per day.
100元一天100元一天
Great. That seems to me rather cheap, Jenny. Do you think there are still Luguan where you can get for 100 yuan?
Yes, of
Really?
course. Yeah, about like 2-star hotel.
2-star hotels for 100 yuan. We're talking about what? How much is this in US dollars? It's about
12,
$12.
15,
Yeah, $12.
Do you know there's a big chain called Motel 168?
Yeah.
And you actually get rooms for about 168 yuan per night. And they're
for
all
how
very
much? Sorry?
168.
168 yuan.
Yes, and they're very conveniently located.
Oh, yeah, 168
and quite
yuan.
well equipped.
Well, that's reasonable. That's very cheap, and there are cheaper than that as well. If you want to look. So for if you're the student traveler, the budget traveler, there you go. You can still find hostels for around that price. Now, to say okay, I agree with that, or I understand, you can say
好的好的
right, how the meaning that's fine, that's okay, good. Well, I think we could listen to that a couple more times, indeed.
我想找便宜的旅馆
多少钱？
100元一天
好的，
Second time 我想找便宜的旅馆
多少钱？
100元一天
好的，
Third time 我想找便宜的旅馆
多少钱？
100元一天
好的。
All right, let's go through our key vocabulary if we could on that. So the word, please, for hostel, Jenny.
旅馆旅馆
Inexpensive.
便宜便宜
To seek or to look for.
找找
The word for money.
钱钱
How much?
多少钱多少钱
One day.
一天一天
100 yuan.
100元一天100元一天
So that's 100 yuan per day. Yeah. Okay, we hope that was useful. We hope for your budget travelers that this comes in handy. It looks like that time, Jenny. I think we got to go.
Again.
We'll be back again tomorrow with another lesson. But for today, I think it's time for us to say
再见
As usual, ChinesePod provides an extensive selection of learning materials for this lesson on its website, www.chinesepod.com. You can access this lesson directly with the lesson number 0184. So just go to www.chinesepod.com/0184. You will find a transcript, vocabulary, and much more. The link again, www.chinesepod.com/0184